What's happening? It is OG Eddie Lee. I just arrived at my workplace. I have about 30 minutes to kill, and I want to use that 30 minutes, at least 20 minutes of it, to drop another story. This story might have up to 3 parts to it. I'm not sure. A lot of my story depends on how much time I have left. Well, excuse me, not left, but how much time I have to do a story, and the topic of the story, and how I feel during the process of telling the story. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you that I realized after my first interview on February the 18th, 2025, with the young co-workers that interviewed me, I'm actually I'm actually better at describing the story if someone is asking me questions, right? It's like my mind allows me to travel back into that time, that atmosphere, right? And it just brings out the best of my storytelling. Now, either way, I'm going to make my point when I tell stories. And like I said before, I'm a storyteller, so I'm not restricted to any kind of stories that I feel like I want to tell. All my stories are non-fictional stories. They're all based on chronicle events that occurred in my life. If I had to give a time frame on when these type of chronicle events happened, that gave me so much that enhanced my life to where I have so many stories to tell, I would say it started in 1973 when my family and I moved into Mobile, Alabama, Orange Grove Housing Projects community. Because of my family being in the Orange Grove Housing Projects community with thousands of other black families and the surrounding communities of the Orange Grove Housing Projects community, like the campground, the bottom, like Shennyville, most of down the bay and Davis Avenue was black segregated. The only whites you actually saw, if they wasn't police officers and maybe the mailman, would be people working in grocery stores or downtown Mobile merchant stores. It wasn't common. And I can recall one time I was walking up and down Davis Avenue because all these chronic events happened before I got my first car. All these chronic events happened during the time I was 15 years old, which was in 1996. Some of the chronic events started in 1975 when I was 14, going into 15. I never saw a white person walk up and down Davis Avenue during that era in time. I never seen a white person walk around the Orange Grove Housing Projects community during that era in time for me. I could only speak for myself. And I don't know nobody that knew whites that walked around Davis Avenue and the Orange Grove Housing Projects community at that time. I'm quite sure if it would have happened, I would have heard, because those who had the nerve to trespass in the Orange Grove Housing Projects community, I would say from 1959 when they was first built, the original Orange Grove, until my family moved out of the Orange Grove Housing Projects community during the summer of 1979. during that era in time, for anybody that had nerve to walk around the Orange Grove Housing Project community that was white. Now, it's, when I started talking about police officers and mailmen and things of that nature, they are exempt. They are part of not just that community and our communities. They got badges and they got guns and they drive squad cars. So they was on a different situation than the average white person. And like I said, I never saw anyone I never saw any white people walking up and down Davis Avenue. I never saw a white junkie on Davis Avenue. I never even seen a white prostitute on Davis Avenue. Okay, I'm trying to think about what I want to name this story, and I haven't really came up with a title. I will come up with a title. But for now, I'm just gonna tell the story, and like I said, it might have up to 3 parts, but I'm only gonna probably get to part 1 or part 2 because I basically already gave y'all an introduction. Okay, this story takes place inside the Mobile County Jail. At this time, I was in the Mobile County Jail, and this had to be in 19... I want to say it was in 1978, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was in 1978. And if I had to give a time frame, I would say maybe the actual chronicle events happened in the early part of 1979, and it wasn't cold like that in Mobile, so I would say maybe the early springtime. But to lead up and talk about how this chronicle event or this story actually got an opportunity to take place, it started off in the Mobile County Jail when I was in the Mobile County Jail. Now, while being in the Mobile County Jail, the last populated cell I was in, and the cells was all open cells, was, and I'm going to say before I got put in the school cell, placed in the school cell, the last general population open cell block I was in was 2000 and, was cell block 208. Okay, and cell block 208, cell block 208 was much different than any cell block I had been in the Mobile County Jail. Being in the cell block 2008 and 78 allowed me to interact with numerous OGs. I'm talking about straight up street hustler. I'm talking about guys that never worked a 9 to 5 in their damn life, right? So I met some interesting guys. The guy that got me into the school cell, I interacted with him on a regular basis. This guy didn't have much money coming in off the streets, and he didn't have that much time. Maybe he had some kind of probation violation, or maybe he had some kind of misdemeanor tickets, or maybe this guy had back child support. I don't really know why this guy was here in the Mobile County Jail. But this was the guy that put me in position to where I could see the warden when the warden of the Mobile County Jail was passing through the catwalk, which is this long hall that allows the correction officers and the wardens to travel up and down this long hall without being directly physically attacked by any inmate. Okay. The warden saw me in there with all these older inmates Some of them old enough to be my dad and grandfather. Part 2. And during that time, the warden asked me, did I want to be in the school cell? And I told him I liked to be in the school cell. And that's how I end up in the school cell. Okay, while in the school block cell, one day, they holler shout, which means it's time to eat. Everybody get in there in a formation. And they take time walking up to the drop door that's on the cell that allows you to put your empty trays there, take the food with the trays out into the cell. You can also send your mail out to correction officer like that through that same little trap door. So I'm in line and I'm talking to some of the inmates and I hear a voice say, who is that talking? Sound like to me this person got a young voice. And she said, let the guy that's talking with the young voice step up front in front of y'all. I want to get a look at his face. I was surprised that the inmates let me get in front of them to get my tray, right? But this woman ran the whole entire Mobile County Jail cafeteria. So they allowed me to step up front. She had me to bend down, let her see my face. I bent down, let her see my face, and she told me, wow, you are real young. And she said, how would you like to work for me? And I asked her, doing what? She said, as a trustee, downstairs on the first floor, you'll be working in the kitchen. I'll get you a position. You're right, but for now, do you want to come downstairs, get out of general population on the third floor and come downstairs to the first floor? You'll have more freedom. And I told her I would like that. A couple weeks later, I was downstairs. I was taken to the kitchen. I sat down and talked with the woman. She told me that she wanted me to work with the baker. I was going to be a baker assistant. That way I could learn how to bake anything from bread to cookies to pies. So that's what I did. Okay, when I got released in October of 1978, let me backtrack on that release thing. I don't believe in release. Every time I say release, it's a mistake that comes out of my mouth, and I have to go back and say, some of the inmates or most inmates might have thought that they got released back into society. I felt like I was unleashed. I was like being locked up at an early age and being around those hardcore convicts and the OGs and doing time with murderers, robbers, rapers, burglars, arsonists, damn near anything you could think wrong kind of inmates. When I was let out, I was unleashed back into society because I had became a part of my environment in order to survive. That environment tapped into a part of me that I didn't know exists. I would tell anything that environment, being locked up around those type of inmates, turned me into a savage. Matter of fact, I wrote a poem called Unleashing the Savage Beast. And that's what happened with me. I was unleashed back into society. And I had the heart and the roar of a lion, right? That had to be tamed. All right, I'm out and I'm getting around, I'm making all the moves a person can make by city line bus or walking. I haven't interacted with anybody with a car yet. This was before I hung out with my next door neighbor and one of his running partners that had a car. So I'm going walking. It's not a main destination, but I'm thinking I'm going to end up in the campground community where my grandmothers and my uncles and my aunts live. So I leave the house. Destination probably would end up, for as I thought, in the campground community. I left the Orange Grove Housing Project community. By the time I got up to the corner of Mama and Davis Avenue, right next to Finley Drug Store, I felt the car pull up on the side of me. I didn't look over to the left to see who was in the car, but I just felt the car present. I was on the sidewalk, so I didn't have to worry about the car running up the sidewalk and possibly mow me over. And I heard a voice say, "Lil one, Lil one." And I already knew who it was. It was only one inmate that I met in my 25 months and 9 days as being tried as an adult. I'm not talking about before I got tried as an adult, because I was in the juvenile center, the Mobile County Youth Center. I'm talking about as an adult in the Mobile County Jail. It was only one person called me Lil One. I never understood why he called me Lil One, because I was as tall as him. He had me maybe about 10 years, right? So at that time, I had just turned 18. He had to be about 28, within that range. I already knew who it was. I turned around, and who I thought it was, who I knew it was him, the skipper. His name was LeBaron. They called him Skip. I called him the skipper. I turned around, it was the skipper. He was in a 4-door Impala. Looked like it might have been a 67, because it wasn't the body styles of the 64s. It wasn't the body style of the 63, 64s. It definitely wasn't the body style of the 65. So, Impala. So I want to say it was probably a 66 or 67. When I saw who it was, I smiled. I walked up to the passenger side of the door, because he had his windows down, all 4 windows. And he say, "Wow, man, I'm glad to see you. I didn't think our path would cross in the free world." He said, "You look well. How long you been out?" Excuse me. I'm sitting in my car and I'm holding my tripod stick. I'd say I got out in October. And he asked me, "Where you headed?" I said I was going to walk down Davis Avenue and possibly cross over Davis Avenue at the intersection of Kennedy and Congress and go into the campground community, because I got family over there. He said, "You actually got some business to take care of over there?" I said, "No, that's just where I'll probably end up." He said, "So do you have any time to kill?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Won't you get in the car with me? Let's go ride. I want to talk to you." So I get in the car. We riding down Davis Avenue. Let me sit down. We riding up Davis Avenue, south, going toward Ann Street. We passed by Central High School. We passed by a white barber shop. We passed by Booker T Theater. Booker T Theater was closed, had been closed for years. And Central High School was also closed. Not counting what we passed by before we even got there. To be honest, time he picked me up We passed by the Lincoln Theater. We passed by the Blue Room, the Congo, and other clubs. Part 3. All right. I'm beginning to wonder where we going until once he crossed Lafayette and Davis Avenue, I know if he went another half a block, we was going to be in the community called Thomasville. I'm looking at the Ponderosa Club, and I know a little bit further behind the Ponderosa Club is the Moonlight Club. But he stops and get in the left lane and make a left turn. He turns into the LeGrand Motel. I always thought the LeGrand Motel was a cheesy motel. I found out while interacting with inmates that was OGs in the streets. Most of them lived inside the LeGrand Motel. It was cheap to live there, so they didn't have to spend a lot of their hustling money trying to pay for a first-class hotel or motel, right? And the LeGrand was basically stuck right in the hood. Now, I found out later in life, after him and I interacted, there was a lot of celebrities like blues men, R&B singers back in the 50s and 60s. They stayed in the LeGrand Motel. It got me wondering, was a LeGrand Motel that cheesy? Okay, we get out of the car. We walk up a flight of steps. He pulled out a key, unlocked this motel door that he's in, and he walked in. I walked behind him. It was a scene like caught me off guard that I wasn't really expected to see. I seen 3 women in there just looking at them. I already knew they were street women, right? Street hustlers. Anything from boosters to possibly prostitution. They were street hustlers. Well, hustlers, or whatever they refer to women that hustle. So he say, grab a seat. I grab a seat. He say, you want a beer? I said, yeah, I'll take a beer. So he grab a couple beers. He come over and sit down. I already see where they sitting at. They got marijuana already rolled, pre-joints of marijuana already rolled. They got a bag of marijuana. And I see these little bitty baggies with capsules in them. I assumed that was heroin, and I found out later it was heroin. But at the time, I assumed it. I wasn't sure. So he tell the ladies, this is one of my little homies. I met him in the county jail. I helped him get into the school block, right? Him and I spent a lot of time with each other, interacting. And he's a down little brother, and he's swift. And he said that we're going to get high. And after we get it high, we'll decide what we're going to do after that. So he fired up a joint, took a couple of totes, gave it to me. Now we're all smoking marijuana. Him and I drinking beers. One of the women get up and go to the refrigerator, and she come back out with some EJ brandy. So now her and the other 2 women are drinking EJ brandy. So out of nowhere, my man asked me, say, Lil, you been laid since you been out? Then I ran down to him about the first woman I met in Pritchard. And I told him, by the way, man, you was right. That game just automatically swept her off her feet. But I made sure I did what you told me not to. I didn't do what you told. I did what you told me. How I want to say that. What you told me not to do. And what not to base it on. I did that. I didn't base me approaching her having an ego about my outside appearance, how my physical frame looked. I based me confronting her with the knowledge that I gained from being around you and the other OG inmates. So I spit the words down to her. During the process of talking to her, I realized just me stepping at her and her glancing at me, she was already into me, just that quick, right? But like you said, I didn't want it to be based on my looks or maybe what kind of clothes I had on. Okay, that goes back to the other subject I talked about prior, about swag. I had on a t-shirt and a pair of jeans, pair of Easy Walkers. Now, if you want to say that was swag, they got that woman back then, maybe it was. All right. He said, so what happened with her? I said, man, she started acting funny style on me. So I stepped back away from her. I've been out here and there, but not having a car and depending on the bus, and walking is only so far I could get. I say a lot of the women in the community that know me, they cool with me. They still give me hugs and we talk. But now I am not the guy to bring home to their mother. To be honest, I never was, but now I'm different in that, right? The mother could see straight through me and get concerned about their daughters interacting with me. He said, wow, man, that's kind of tough. So we continued to smoke and drink, and then out of nowhere, he said, hey, man, about real shortly, he said, you still shoot a little bit? I said, no, man. I said, all the bad habits that I had when I was confined and interacting with y'all guys, I left all those bad habits there. I say, I smoke some weed and I drink, but I don't stick nothing in my arms. He said, okay, that's cool. That's real cool. He said, I'm going to go in the back and I'm going to take her with me and I'm going to get off and I'm going to chill in the back. He said, you're welcome to stay as long as you want. He said, if you want to stay, I got another room in there, right? Believe it or not, I got another room in there. And my women right here be glad to take care of you. So it threw me off. It's a possibility I probably had that little boy look on my face because I had just turned 18. And it would have been better for me if he would have told me that before we got to the LeGrand that he had women, or told me away from around them because I was almost embarrassed. And he showed on my face and he said, damn. He said, whatever you do, don't lose that. And I wanted to play dumb. I said, lose what? He said, that little boy shyness you got. He said, after all that bullshit you been in while you was locked up, it haven't took that little boy charm and that little boy look away from you. He said, that's a good thing, because once you lose it, it's hard to get that back. He said, I see right now, I put you on blast. I didn't mean to put you on blast, but I always told you, if I saw you in the street, anything I had was yours. You could share with me, right? And to be honest, I'm hoping me and you could hook up later on sometime and maybe hit the streets a little bit, do a little hustling. And I said, I don't know about that because I'm trying to stay out of that because I'm not trying to get locked up again. And he said, I could understand that. He said, so the offer stands. Either one you want or if you want both, they cool with that. So he went off and did his thing. I continued to smoke. And as I was smoking, each one of the women that he left, the two, one side on my right and one side on my left. And as we was talking and smoking, I guess I didn't have much of a choice. Not saying I wanted the choice, but I didn't have much of a choice because now I got the girl sitting on my right. She got her hand on the inside of my thigh, and the girl sitting over to my left, she got her hand on the inside of my left thigh. So I already know what's going to get ready to go down, right? And I actually had a good damn time, man. That was the first time I ever had something like that happen to me. And I'm quite sure it probably showed on my face. This is OG Eddie Lee signing off. Peace.